Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Freedom Filled Life podcast. I'm your host, Shay Brown, co-founder of the Bucket List Bombshells, where we serve women who are building, growing, and scaling service-based online businesses. And today, I'm going to be sitting down with one of our former Bucket List Bombshells Academy students, Sophia. She is the founder and lead designer of Vago Designs, a brand strategy and design studio that specializes in helping businesses create a meaningful impact on their audiences. And it's always so much fun for me to sit down with former students and just hear their journey. And I know it's always really inspiring to you, our listeners. So,
interested in becoming a brand or website designer? We've teamed up with an industry expert, Paige Brunton, to bring you a totally free resource to help you launch an online website design business, even if you have absolutely no design skills. Or come and learn how to grow your existing design business to get totally booked out this year. Just click the link in the show notes to register now for the Profitable and Productive Bootcamp and come join me and Paige starting on October 16th. I can't wait to see you there. Come on and register in the show notes.
let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast, Sophia. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi, it's so good to be here. I'm thrilled.
Yes, amazing. I'm so excited to dive more into your story. But before we do that, I'd love for you to share with our audience what your business is, what you own, and the services that you offer.
Cool. So you did quite a good intro there. But yeah, I do run Vago Designs, which is a business based in London. I work with clients all over the world, mostly creatives or service-based clients. And I do packages anywhere from just brand strategy to a full holistic view of strategy to identity design. I think my focus now, though, is more on the education side. So I just want to get a bit more out there with my audience and really coach them what branding actually is. There's so many different terms and terminologies within the world that people still feel really unsure of. So really tapping into that, what it means, brand strategy, and how having a strategy before you actually launch your business can really help you build a sustainable business that grows and evolves with time. So that's been my focus. But yeah, anything branding related, I'm your girl.
I love it. And can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and maybe your journey within our courses in the academy?
Oh God, that was quite a journey. So 10 years ago, I I started as an architect, actually. So I studied architecture in school. And then when I left for the first 2 years after architecture, I was just kind of navigating the world without really knowing what I was doing. I think university is great, but it doesn't really teach you anything about business. It doesn't really teach you anything about marketing, sales, and all of that. So I think I wasn't really enjoying working because I felt like I didn't know enough. So a couple of years later, I decided to kind of take a step back and to educate myself in other areas. So I ended up moving from Lisbon, which is where I'm originally from, to London. And I did this thing called Career Change Accelerator. And that basically was a 3-month course where they really help you tap into your skills, what you like doing, don't like doing, so that you can kind of open your mind to other possibilities career-wise. And that was amazing for me. That was a great experience. And straight after that, I ended up in a bunch of different roles, from sales to marketing, digital marketing, social media, advertising, and that really opened my mind to a whole new world. After maybe 2-3 years within that kind of atmosphere, working for startups, etc., I started getting really burned out. And then COVID hit, and I think, it's a common thing. Everyone was feeling all sorts of things, but I think for me, I kind of thought, you know what, it's been 3 years since I've been on this journey of learning other things. Maybe it's time to stop again and kind of rethink where I am. So I did. I took another plunge. I stopped working for another month, and that's where I found your course. And that was amazing. That was such a life-changing moment for me. It was just, things kind of clicked. And while I was taking time off and I started doing your course, the creative side really opened up to me again. So yeah, I just kind of started putting some pieces together in terms of what I wanted to do. And 3 years later, here I am with my business.
I love that. And I know that today we're going to be talking about making that career change as something that you wanted to share with our audience and speak to. So for those struggling to make that career change that they desire because maybe fear or feeling like an imposter, what advice would you give them?
So I think imposter syndrome is a bit of a funny thing because the more you grow your business and the more you evolve, the more you give yourself space to feel it in a way. So what I've kind of learned doing is I started befriending a lot of my negative thoughts and kind of reframing them in my mind. So I always kind of focus on two things. One is just let them go, or even use them as fuel sometimes. And the other thing is just continuously build my skill and my knowledge so that I can atone those feelings with what I know and what I can deliver. So I think I'm just in a place where I actually enjoy being uncomfortable and putting myself out there and in situations like this. And I'm thinking like, you know what, sometimes I think I might be an imposter, but I am an imposter that earned my right to be here and I worked really hard to be here. So I'm kind of owning that at the moment. And I think that's the key. I think words have the meaning that we give them. And I think the more we think, okay, yeah, imposter syndrome is here, but I can turn it around, the better it gets for us.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know many people in our audience are struggling with that imposter syndrome. And I just wanted to say that I personally don't feel like it goes away at any stage in business, but it does, like what you said, it gets easier to just own it, to have the tools that help you kind of overcome it, work through it. But I think it's really easy for us to get lost in watching someone else's journey and saying, oh my gosh, they did it without any fear. They did it without feeling imposter syndrome. They're just, because all we really show sometimes online or how people show is just the wins and the shiny parts of the moments. And I think people are being more authentic and vulnerable, but it's still so easy to compare ourselves to other people online, and also to compare like our beginning to someone's like middle or someone's end. And I think that as someone who has had so many different stages of business, I think that you think it goes away and it doesn't necessarily go away, but it becomes just a part of the journey and just something that you're just aware of, and it happens, and you kind of check yourself and you're like, okay, I got this.
Yeah, and it can really push you. It can motivate you to learn other things. And like if you're uncomfortable about something, or if you feel like you're lacking a skill, then you can work on it. And that's kind of how you can reframe things and turn them into a positive outlook. And I think another interesting perspective as well is the more I deal with clients, the more I understand that it kind of happens across the board. I'm not the only one feeling like this. Even people that have born into an industry deal with it. So I think it's really reframing our thoughts, understanding how we can take accountability for it and manage it. That's really the key here.
Yeah, I love what you said about turning it into a positive and almost a motivating factor, because I think there is a healthy bit of motivation that says, okay, I see someone else doing it. I want to be like that. We all have mentors. We all look up to people. I do as well. And I like seeing, for me, it's like I like seeing someone else do it because I'm like, okay, it can be done. I'm not trying to like reinvent the wheel, which, we have done in the industry at times. But I think that it's really cool. I love that perspective that you have in terms of being like, it's a positive, it's a motivating factor. Someone else is doing it, you can do it too. So let's just learn. And knowledge is so key, so strong. I love that. So another topic that you wanted to share today with us is the power of transferable skills. And I love this. So I know that you have experience with this. Obviously, Cassie and I teach skills, but I wanted you to share with our audience what this looked like for you in terms of these transferable skills that you've utilized.
So I think for me, what was key was to have a plan. So I know a lot of people tend to ask like, oh, what would be your advice for someone who's like wants to change a career, and everyone kind of says, follow your gut. And I think that's true and very valid, but I think you have to follow your gut with a plan in action as well, just so that you have some sort of backup and you're not just floating around. And I think transferable skills here can be a really key part of the plan. What I did, and I'm going to turn this into a very practical kind of exercise that anyone can do, but what I did was do 3 lists So the first list was the skills that I had from previous jobs. Then the second one was connecting some of those skills and seeing what other careers I could do with those skills. And then I highlighted my favorite ones, and I put down what skills I needed to get to really be proficient in those careers. And things started clicking up for me. So I obviously had my creative skills and visual skills from architecture. Then I had my knowledge from marketing, which was a lot of research, strategic thinking, analytics. And then sales was just a whole world of business communication and so many techniques to deal with clients. So I had a really solid background, and I just needed to find a way that was creative, but I could still talk about business and I could still help out other business owners. So branding fit into it really easily, and it was kind of a smooth transition for me. But I think, if you go through an exercise like this and you really take down note of what your skills are, and I'm not just talking about professional skills, it can be from your personality as well, because they are a massive add-on, and that's what makes you unique. And then if you turn these skills into your own unique persona, then you can build whatever business you build, you will mold it around those skills. And that's what will make you successful, is just finding what makes you unique and then turning a business strategy and idea around that.
Yeah. That's so great. That's just such I love the fantastic way that you kind of positioned, okay, how do I go about doing this? How do I find skills? And I really love that you said about, it is about a passion, but it's also about the skills. And as you know, you are one of our students, and that is like totally something that Cass and I have always preached from the beginning. It's like, yes, absolutely follow your passion. Let's get you out of, a soul-sucking job, and, let's build you a career that you love, gives you the freedom, the fulfillment. But how do we do that and actually make money, make a profit? And I think that can be the disconnect sometimes. And it's not that you can't follow your passions or your dreams, but I think that you can marry the two and find a profitable niche that is also passion filled. And then at some point, on the side, like there's lots of things I do in my own free time that I'm not trying to monetize every single passion either. And I think sometimes that can lead down a road of burnout, where you lose the joy that you have for the passion or the skills that are just something that maybe you just enjoy doing, but you thought, okay, I need to monetize. And so I love your perspective on finding that crossroads of like, what could I enjoy doing that aligns with my skills that can make me money, that I can sell as services. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's so valid. And I think just we really surprise ourselves. And I think we sometimes don't give ourselves enough credit for how much we know and how much we have done. And you can be working at a coffee shop for 10 years and you can learn so many personable skills that you can use with your clients in a different sector in a way. So, anything is valid. So just really focusing on finding that is probably the first really good step into building something new.
Yeah. And so when you found this crossroads for you, how did that really propel you forward in your business?
That's a really good question. And I think it's kind of connected to what we spoke about in terms of imposter syndrome, because the more I understand my skills and the value they have, the more it becomes easier whenever I go into a negative mindset to go back to that mental list and remember what I'm good at and what I can do. So I think in one way, it helps me navigate imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs. And then at the same time, like if I didn't know the skills that I had, and if I hadn't worked really hard on putting them together, I just wouldn't be able to run my business as effectively as I am. And I can give you one example, which was in my sales career. I did way over 1,000 initial consultations. Like I spoke to so many business owners within the architecture and interior design world. So I knew exactly how to navigate an initial consultation, how to make people open up for me, how to build relationship. So when I built my business and I had to start doing that for my own clients, it was just a really smooth transition. And I never even thought about closing a call because I already knew how to do it. So I could allow myself to focus on other sectors of my business where I wasn't as proficient. So I think that's another thing about really understanding what you're good at you can actually see what you need to work on in your business and what you already have in place. And then that allows you to consistently and sustainably grow. So I think that was probably like a really key thing for me to, even now, I still sometimes go back and I was like, why am I not being good at this moment? And then I go through my mental list and I was like, no, but I did this before, so I can do it again. And it gives me peace. So I think it's all about that. It's finding ways that give you peace at the end of the day. That's what we should aim for.
Yeah, that's so great. And I think that's really also an interesting perspective too, when you're starting out in your business and you're saying, okay, we've got, sales, marketing, operations, products and services. Where am I already have the skills? So I know, okay, great. I know how to do that. For example, like you're saying sales calls. I also was really great at sales calls. It really wasn't an area I needed to learn a new skill in. So I really nailed those. And then looking at the other areas, you're like, oh, okay, here's maybe an area I can add or improve my skills, take some courses, learn, and then really more focus my attention. And I like that how you said finding that peace. I think that perspective really takes the mental weight off of, oh my gosh, I have, 6, 7 core areas of a business that it takes to run. And I have to be like perfect at all of them. It's like, actually, you probably are really good at maybe 50% of those. Great. Do what you already know how to do there, and then hone in your skills on those other areas. And that's also going to boost your confidence as well. So that was great. Thank you.
And I think picking up on what you were saying now, there's an interesting key factor there as well, is obviously we're all dealing with clients, right? And we have this tendency of thinking we need to be perfect for the clients. They have to think that everything is super smooth and easy. And actually, my best conversations with my clients were conversations where I started by saying, actually, I'm really tired today. So if something cracks, I'm really sorry. And I'll work really hard tomorrow on rebuilding it. And like just having that honest conversation with your client where you're like, this is not my area of expertise, but I can go talk to my friend and they can tell me about it and I'll bring the information to you. And there are so many times in conversations as well where a client asks me a question. I don't know the answer. I just tell them, let me do my research and then I'll come back to you. So I think owning up to what you don't know, it's also another piece of giving you that piece that we were talking about. It's totally fine. You don't need to have an absolute control over everything. It just makes you more human to your clients as well.
Yeah, that's such a great perspective as well. So I know that many of our listeners are in the growth stage, getting started stage of their business. They're looking for clients. And I'm sure they're curious kind of what did the journey look like for you in terms of finding and landing, say, your first 3 clients?
That was kind of an up and down journey. Like, I don't think anyone will lie to you and say the first few clients are hard to get through the door. And it's also like, it's hard to find clients, and then you get to a point where you have them, but finding the right clients, then that's another step into kind of managing your business. But my first 3 clients, they all came from different places. So one came from a Facebook group, the other was a recommendation from a friend, and then the third one was through your community, actually, which was a really cool project. And good Lord, just looking back, I was such a baby managing these projects. I'm nowhere near the same level now. But I can tell you that, and for people that are struggling with this, all it takes is one good connection. And that could open your leg to a lot of good recommendations. That really was what helped me.
Yes, I definitely think we call it the wildfire strategy, as you probably have seen. Telling your network, they tell their network, and then, but also using the wildfire strategy with that first client. Like you said, you got, there's different avenues you got to try. One of them, our community, our free Facebook group is bumping with job opportunities, which I love because I love seeing all of the members and they're working together and having such a positive experience. But then it's also tapping into your network. And then, like you said, you land that first client. Okay, make sure when you're wrapping up, you're asking them for referrals, you're maybe giving them an incentive. Anything that you can really get the word of mouth going is going to be the best. Of course, there's lots of other things that you can do as you grow your business. on social media and getting exposure and going in. I know people who go to like networking events in person, and that's their strategy. Or they team up and do collaborations with people who have their target audience but don't offer the same services, and they do like a collaboration where they get referrals sent. There's so many different avenues of organic strategies, but it's really just getting out there and making those relationships with your clients getting those first 3 clients and really building the relationship with them. It's how I built my business off referrals, and how I actually ended up working with online coaches and finding this niche that I loved. I used to take like anybody, like you're saying, in the beginning, I was like, I'll take anybody, I'll do anything. I said yes to everything. And I just went and figured it out. I used YouTube or my own brain or whatever to figure it out. And then I realized I was just doing so many different things. And then, I started working with this online coach, and then that whole world opened up to me, and it was all referrals. I built my first business to 6 figures, all off referrals. So I think, like you said, it's finding that first couple clients and then snowballing and then building relationships. And exactly. I think that is like service-based business is all based on relationships. And of course, there's other strategies. So I am curious kind of from the first 3 strategies, what maybe systems or things that you put into place to really continue getting booked out? Was it just referrals, or was there other strategies?
No, I think there's a couple of things. So I'm going to piggyback off what you were saying.
Yeah.
First, apply to your strengths and make yourself find things that are comfortable for you to find clients. I think for me, the key thing is once I have the client, I go way above and beyond to deliver as much as I can. And I treat them with so much respect that I just want them to feel like they can recommend me to anyone that they see fit. And that has been my key priority. I always prioritize client work above any other side of the business that I have to manage. And then there was another thing that was really good for me, which was building relationships with other creatives in the industry. So I do a lot of partnership projects with web designers, copywriters, app designers, where they feel like they need a brand designer to come in or a strategist, and I work with their clients. Sometimes they manage it, sometimes I manage my side. Really depends, but that has been a really good flow of work for me because those people already trust me. So they are quick to put a team together, and I jump on board, and I know how to work with them as well. So that was an easy one. And then I would say the third one is the key one for me. And again, it might not work for everyone. I totally understand, but I am really flexible with the type of jobs that I take on. So I love branding. It's my baby. Love strategy, my priority. But I get really bored very easily if I'm doing the same thing every day, which is why I became a business owner. So I like doing other creative jobs that I can smash out quickly in a week or 2, and that I can balance out with longer term projects. So at the moment, for example, I'm doing 4 websites mainly on Squarespace, and I'm helping a couple of companies with graphic design work to build their brand consistency. These are jobs that I fit in within my normal client load. One, they allow me not to constantly worry about getting work through the door because they come to me. They've been working with me for a while. And it just means that I have like more to work on, and I can continuously improve my skills. I have different sides that I'm working on, and I'm not just a one-trick pony in a way. So that has worked really well for me to kind of keep the ball rolling, especially this year.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those extra strategies and kind of how you grew. I know that that's always a question we get in our audience, from our audience. And so during this time of growing your business, we've talked a little bit about mindset and imposter syndrome, but I am curious whether obstacles or setbacks did you encounter, and kind of what advice could you give someone for overcoming those same obstacles?
So I think my biggest one has been what we have been touching on, which is myself. I'm my biggest obstacle because limiting beliefs can be a really powerful thing, and sometimes they can be really, really debilitating. So I think most of the work that I put on myself is in building myself into a stronger professional, but also mentally. And I think there are three things here that really help me overcome this setback. One is surrounding myself with people that truly, truly support me. And I'm not just talking about my bubble and my partner and my family and my friends who sometimes understand what I do, sometimes don't, because I started as an architect. So it's a hard thing to grasp. But also people in the industry that you learn to build relationships with and that you start trusting. Those people are people that are good to go to because you can ask for very practical advice. So that has been one thing that really has helped me building that sense of community around myself. And then the second one is always taking feedback from clients. This has been such a key thing because every time I go back to that dark place of I can't do this, I think about certain things that those clients have told me and I'm like, no, but it worked out for them. So I can apply it again. And like, I can go back to that mindset. And that really helps me get out of that setback. And the third one and key for anyone who wants to build their business, you have to constantly work on your business mentality. This is like, it's such a key thing. And not a lot of people talk about this. It's all about delivering and clients and processes. But the mentality is what drives you and what allows you to grow as well. And business is a hard thing to grasp. There are so many ways to do business. Finding what works for you is really hard. So continuously working on yourself and studying and learning how to build that tenacity in terms of business mentality, that has been a really big thing for me to overcome all the obstacles that come my way.
Yeah, I love that you touched on the mindset as a business owner being such a key thing, because I think that we go into it thinking, yep, like, let me get my strategy, let me get my like revenue and my profits and my products and services and my marketing. And then as something I've noticed as a coach, both in my mastermind and with my private coaching clients, I've noticed that sometimes the biggest obstacle, the biggest thing that they need help breaking through and overcoming is their mindset. And that can look in so many different ways. Sometimes someone needs the mindset to build confidence. And then other times they're doing too much. And it's like, we need to rest. And we actually need to focus on something that has nothing to do with your business. And it's actually something going on maybe in your personal life or maybe internally as you grow. Because what I learned really quickly was, as a business owner, like, what's going on inside you, like, for example, your personal development, things that maybe you haven't healed. I don't want to use the word, I don't want to get into like the talk around trauma or anything like that necessarily, because like, it's not even as deep as that. Sometimes it's simply like your lens that you view something through that needs to change, or just like little triggers that come up and you're like, why is this making me so uncomfortable or so angry or so, whatever. And that's what I realized right away. I was like, it is so key as a CEO, as a business owner, as someone leading a business, especially when you start growing a team.
Yeah.
You really do the inner work on yourself. And like I said, it's not even, sometimes it is, but it's not even that super deep therapy work. It's simply just that mindset, changing your lens, changing your perspective, healing a couple triggers inside of you, which there's so much information online about that now. And that was huge for me, especially as someone who I just love personal self-development. I always have. My mom does too. So I kind of get it from her at a young age. But that was such shift for me to realize. And it's something that comes up so often with my coaching clients. I'm like, okay, this has actually nothing to do with your business. And you might think it is, but it doesn't. Exactly. It's like, it's actually like, let's look at what's going on in you, with your life. Like, what is triggering you, as like, especially for me, it was growing a team. That was definitely something that I had to learn how to show up for other people and different personality types and different things that, that it's not just black and white. It's not just numbers. These are humans. These are real people. And it really pushed me to be a better communicator, to be a better listener, to be a better leader, a role model. And that was, really healing a lot of things inside of me. And I thought that was just so cool, because I like that stuff and I love becoming like the best version I can be, but it comes up so often. So I love that you touched on that, because I see it come up so often. And I think it can be really frustrating, because we think something's not working in the business because it's like, I'm not doing the right strategy. And sometimes it's literally just some mindset work that we need to work on. within you, or it could be an external factor going on in your personal life. Like we forget that we're like running a business. Yeah. When you run a business, those two things intersect. Especially when it's just you too in the business as solopreneur at times, it's like those things are going to intersect.
Exactly.
And I think that we want to keep them separate, but we have to learn that they can be a beautiful integration, which is something Cass and I always talk about. Setting up our businesses to be a positive thing in our lives, and our lives to be a positive thing in our business. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with business talk, it often becomes really like very cold in a way. It's like very pragmatic. It's all about how you can monetize. It's all about like, oh, you need to be good at this and good at that. But like, I think we're going into a direction where human businesses, or businesses that are humanified. I don't know how to say that word, but like that.
Let's make it up a new word. I like it.
Exactly. Humanified. But personalizing a business, sometimes I feel like it's becoming a big thing, because we connect to stories and we connect to the power of storytelling, right? So if there's something that we connect with, we will go for that. And I think this mentality and working on ourselves and being honest about it and upfront, it's kind of a key to make things a bit more likable and for people to understand us a bit better as well. So I think business doesn't have to be cold-hearted. There's a lot of empathy, and we don't really talk about what empathy means as a business owner, but that's a key trait that everyone should work on, is to be really aware that there's people on the other side, but you also are a side, and you can show up, and for you to show up in your best possible way, there's so much work you need to do on the background on yourself. So I think if we can open conversations like this a bit more, we're hopefully going into a much better direction than in the last 10 years in business, I'd say.
Yeah, I love that. This has been such an amazing conversation. It actually flows right into my final question, which I ask everybody, is how has starting your own business led to more freedom and fulfillment in your life?
Oh, good Lord. So many sides. And like, we always talk about like, I can work from anywhere. I can take days off when I want to, and I like go on vacation on non-traditional times, and I can take my dog out whenever I want in the day, or go for a coffee at random times. But to be honest, for me, it's been taking ownership of my time, not just how I'm spending it, but who I'm spending it with and what I'm doing to make sure that I'm in a good space to build and manage a business. I think that has been the key thing for me. As I said, I don't like doing the same thing every day. So some days I start at 9, some days I start at 1, and that works. It's totally fine. I'm taking accountability and ownership for it. Like I don't have to be the same person every day. I have to apply to my strengths on a day-to-day basis. So I guess that ownership and that feeling that I'm in control, that's my freedom. Personally, that's where I get like my motivation from. It's like I'm doing what I want. Like I'm so in love with this. Like I'm so I love what I'm doing at the moment, and it might not last forever, but right now I can be accountable for it, and I can own it with my whole heart, and there's just a lot of freedom and power in that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful answer. And if anybody listening wants to connect with you after this podcast, where can we find you?
So you can find me on vagodesigns.co.uk. So that's VAGO, and same on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. So Vago Designs. And if you want to pop on my website and just drop me a message and say that you listened to me here, I'll be happy to chat about any transferable skills or anything you're struggling with, really.
I love that. Yes, definitely. We'll put that in the show notes. Definitely reach out to Sophia for those of you listening and you are in that maybe career change phase or curious how you can transfer your skills and start your own business. And of course, reach out to us on Instagram as well. And the three of us can have a chat. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Sophia. I super appreciate it.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. And I hope everyone can take a bit of inspiration from this conversation.
Absolutely. I'm sure they did. And thank you for everybody for tuning in and listening to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life podcast. I will see you on the next one.
Interested in becoming a brand or website designer? We've teamed up with an industry expert, Paige Brunton, to bring you a totally free resource to help you launch an online website design business, even if you have absolutely no design skills. Or come and learn how to grow your existing design business to get totally booked out this year. Just click the link in the show notes to register now for the Profitable and Productive Bootcamp and come join me and Paige starting on October 16th. I can't wait to see you there. Come on and register in the show notes.